a cop walks up to a homeless man, puts him under arrest, says he's another person that has a warrant. The homeless man doesn't have ID. He's saying, no. Whoever you're saying I am, I'm not that person. The cop says, no. You are the person. It's you. We're gonna take you to jail. You have a warrant for your arrest. This guy stays in a mental institution for 2 years because they thought he was mentally disabled. They thought he was having a break with reality only because he kept telling them, I am not the man you think I am. Let me bring your attention to Honolulu. Let's put up a picture of Mr. Joshua Spriestersbach. Mr. Spriestersbach fell asleep on a sidewalk. It was a hot day. It was May 2017. While waiting for food outside of a Honolulu homeless shelter. He woke up to a police officer arresting him for violating the city's ban on lying down in public. At least that's what Mr. Spriestersbach thought. The officer actually arrested him because he believed the man was Thomas Castleberry, who had an arrest warrant for allegedly violating probation in a 2006 drug case. It was the first mistake of many. Now, let me pause on this point. The arresting officer made a mistake, but I want to remind you that multiple authorities, multiple agencies, courts, prosecutors, public defenders, mental health directors, they all sign off on the same mistake throughout the entire system. You know why? Because they didn't give a damn. That's why. He had no voice, not to them. They just said, put him full of medication. That's the problem. Let's give him psychotropic medicine. He'll come back. He'll become Mr. Castleberry. But he never did. For 2 years, he proclaimed who he truly was, okay? It was the first mistake of many that led to this man spending 2 years and 8 months in jail and a mental institution for crimes he never committed. While locked up, doctors pumped him full of powerful psychiatric drugs. Judges ruled that he was unfit to stand trial, and his attorneys ignored his assertions that the police had the wrong man. His own counsel didn't believe him. You know why? Because once again, they did not give a damn about him. He has no status to them. To them, he has no real value. You know how they found out this was really the wrong guy? A medical director, one of the people who actually sat down with him, a psychiatrist, really broke the whole thing and said, wait a minute. Some of this doesn't really seem traditional as it relates to a dysfunction in your psychological development. So he Googled, looked some stuff up. Damn, not the same guy. Let me take you to this part. They could have compared Social Security numbers. They didn't. He gave it to him. Mr. Spriestersbach said, hey, here's my social. With the one on the warrant, they could have compared it to Castleberry and realized they didn't match. They didn't even care about this man's Social Security number. Or they could have done a quick search of the internet and public court records to find out the real Castleberry had been locked up in Alaska since 2016. They didn't even do that. Instead, they did absolutely nothing. That's according to the Innocence Project. Innocence Project got on this and did a lot of great work. January 2nd, 2020, one of the doctors who previously found Mr. Spriestersbach mentally incompetent changed course, changed their mind. And after doing a little more investigation, determined that this man had been telling the truth all along. That led the state hospital's attorney to have a police detective take fingerprints. They didn't match the ones they had on file for Mr. Castleberry. Officials also compared photos. Guess what? photos did not match. All they had to do was pause for 60 seconds and say, okay, let's just confirm fingerprint, a picture, social security number, a records check. We could find out that Mr. Castleberry was already incarcerated. We could have found that out. They could have as well. But it shows you systemic failures in the system. Because if this was a mistake, and if the system only gets it wrong every now and then, that 8, 9, 10 layers on top of that mistake would have found it out. It would have been exposed. It would have been discovered. But when there's a systemic culture of failure because of the perceived class and status of an individual, the entire chain works against you. Because the failure is not a mistake, the failure is systemic. This is one of the best examples of systemic oppression and failure that I've seen in a long time. You had literally over 80 people that touched this man's case. And over 80 people said the same thing, and all of them were wrong. Ms. Turner?
I mean, Doc, in the black church, when the sermon is good, you just say amen. Amen to what you just said. I was sitting here as we, reading that article until we got to the point where they said they finally took the man's fingerprints. I'm thinking to myself, are fingerprints still unique to each individual? They didn't even bother because class and caste is exactly what you said. In this case, it was class.
That's right.
Do not care. The system is designed not to care about people of a certain socioeconomic status. And this, as you said, was a great bad example of what happens when people absolutely do not give a damn. Thank God, though, on the positive side of this, thank God for the Hawaii Innocence Project.
That's right.
We got to shout them up and lift them up. Yes. Thank God for them. The man's still being there. And I hope he get a lot of money, even though they can never repay him for shooting them up with all them psychedelic drugs and taking away almost 3 years of this man's life.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna stay on top of that story because it's still developing, okay? Still developing.